I'm Nadia, your host of CCL TV, a TV platform made by the industry for the industry. But who are CCL? Well, CCL are an independent and neutral third-party logistics service provider and custom clearance specialist. From e-concept to eLogistics for e-commerce, CCL has the e-solution. Now, joining me today is the lovely Simon Gibbons, who's Commercial Director at Agora Freight. Simon, thanks so much for being here. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. First day back at work after the holidays. So we had a nice 10-day time. I was sitting outside in the countryside, surrounded by snowdrifts.
Wow, well, very different from the very warm rooftop in Dubai that I last saw you at the NAP event.
Just a little bit different. I must admit, when I got back from Dubai, it took me about a week to acclimatise to blizzards and God knows what else, because I think we hit around, I guess it was about minus 27, 28 when I got back.
Oh, wow.
So it was a bit of a shock to the system. Having said that, I prefer the cold to the heat, actually.
Oh, well, there you go. That's why you live in Russia, so that's a good job.
Exactly, that's why I came here.
Exactly. Now, Simon, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background and how you got involved with Agora Freight?
Well, long story cut short, I guess. So I've basically been involved in the shipping logistics business since 1979, I guess. And I started working for a fairly well-known large global forwarding company in the position of office junior, or as the guy in the office said, the idiot who knows nothing. I spent a couple of years there. And then I went to actually work for a shipping line itself, an Icelandic shipping line called Eimskip, which still exists to this day. We were running services from the UK northwest continent into Iceland, and also a service via Rotterdam into North America. And we had a weekly vessel call into Liverpool. So I was basically sitting in Liverpool looking after our port office. Now, to get to the story of Russia, I guess it must have been 1992, and the company decided that they wanted to start operating their own line of service into Riga in Latvia and also in St. Petersburg, or as was Leningrad. So in 1993, I guess it was, we time chartered 4 vessels to go on the route from the UK northwest continent into Latvia and into Russia, St. Petersburg. Now, going on a little bit further from that, I was based in the UK at the time as UK sales manager. And I guess it was late 93. The company decided that we needed a presence in Moscow. We had an agent in Moscow, but not our own setup, as we had an agent in Riga and also in St. Petersburg. So the idea was that we needed a presence in Moscow, and then 2 or 3 years later, we would open our own operations as Eimskip in Russia. And more or less, the company asked for a volunteer to go to Moscow, and strangely enough, I was the only one who volunteered.
And being someone who loves the cold, like yourself?
Well, exactly. And I was young enough at the time. I was kind of early 30s at the time. So I felt I was young enough to go and have a go and see what it was like. I thought, if I don't do it now, I'll look back in maybe 10 years and think maybe I should have done it, but now it's too late. So I took the plunge of deciding to take the one-way ticket to Moscow. And I have to say, I've been here before a couple of times on business, but coming to live here, obviously, it's a whole different ballgame. And you know well that you go on a business trip, you stay in a nice hotel, a week or 2 weeks later, you're back home in your own city with your family. This is a one-way ticket to Russia. As it got closer to the time, I did get slightly, have I done the right thing here? But there was no way I was backing out of this. So 1st of April, auspicious date, 1994, I landed in Moscow with 2 suitcases, and that was that. And almost 28 years later, I'm still here.
Wow.
And I would say okay, Russia then compared to now is different planet completely. Then let me think what I can liken it to. I would liken it to the first episode, probably, of that BBC series Life on Mars, where Sam Tyler arrives back in the 1960s, where everything is totally alien to what he understands. And it was a little bit like that. They were interesting times, but challenging times. I mean, even on a personal level, even things like buying food was a daily challenge.
Yeah.
And, I don't joke about that. And business was completely opposite to what I understood. Even logistics here was completely opposite to what I understood. But slowly, step by step, you get the idea of what's going on. And then you get some kind of social life, and then things get a lot better. And to the point now where I'm married, 2 kids, and it's home, actually.
And you must speak Russian, right, after 28 years there?
I can get by. Grammatically, it's horrible because it is a really difficult language. And I must admit, when I first arrived here, now all the signage is in English and also Chinese, actually, the city centre. And most people in business here, if not all in logistics anyway, speak fluent English, the new generation. When I first arrived here, they didn't. I couldn't even read the alphabet. So even going on the metro, I understood nothing. It was a day-to-day challenge. And am I allowed to do a bit of product placement at the moment?
Of course, go for it.
If anybody's interested, that's the book to read.
Oh, really? Voices from Russia, Witnesses to Change, 1970 to 2000, interviews by John Harrison.
Exactly. And if you browse to, where is it? Let me have a look. Chapter 18, my recollections.
Oh.
I was interviewed. John Harrison, the author, is a very good friend of mine and already a published author about his times as a student in China during the Cultural Revolution, nonetheless. And he interviewed both locals and expats for this book, which was published, I think, last year. And I was one of the interviewees.
Oh, wow.
So if anyone's interested, that's what happened in the 90s.
Oh, there we go. Oh, we'll get some feedback. If anyone has a look at that, we'd like to get feedback on Simon's chapter.
Apparently, according to the author, it is one of the more entertaining chapters. I mean, I've read the book twice, and a lot of the Russians who were interviewed have a different take on what it was like here in the 90s. For them, it was a taste of freedom. They were able to travel. Everything changed. It was from the old Soviet Union into the brave new world. And it tends to focus on that, where the expats that were interviewed, it was going from what you understood to what you don't understand, and the hardships and also good times we had here as well in those days. And
then tell us how you got involved with Agora Freight.
Well, during my tenure here, you might say, I left AIM-Skip back in, I guess it was 1998. And I've worked for several other major forwarders since then. And about 4.5 years ago, I came into contact through a mutual friend with Vitaly Grekov, who is the managing director and in fact owner of Agora Freight. And we met and we had a chat, and his vision of what he wanted to do with Agora, I kind of liked. So we had a chat, we came to an agreement, and I started there about 4.5 years ago.
And you're loving your time there, you've been loving your time there ever since?
Of course, I have to say yes to that question. But the answer is yes. I mean, it's a small family-run business, and I've worked for the giant logistics companies on the planet. I've worked for some of the biggest. And I have to say, working for a smaller family company, I find a lot better, not just because you can be more agile and use all those words. It's the fact that you're a big cog in a small machine. That's the difference. And the other point, I guess, is that when you're with a large, huge global forwarder with offices around the world, you have to operate within that structure. So you can't use other agents. And it can be that your guys sitting in South Korea do a great job, but your guys sitting in, I don't know, Buenos Aires might not do a great job, but you still have to use them. Whereas we can pick and choose who we use for agents. Some guys are good at some things, some guys are good at other things. They can be great at ocean freight, but not air freight, and vice versa. Or they can be good at rail transport from China to Russia, or not. So we can more or less cherry pick who we use as our overseas agents. So we have relationships in, I'd say, every country with some tried and tested agents over the years. They're the guys that we tend to use.
And tell us about your online calculator and the process that you use for that. What makes you better than your competitors with that system?
I'm here.
Choose Agora for Simon.
Okay, so Agora Freight really was born out of the frustration of being a standard freight forwarder. And to explain that, we have two companies in Moscow. You know us as Agora Freight, which is the digital forwarder. Prior to Agora Freight, and I go back maybe 10 years or so, Vitaly established a company called iStlog, AISTLOG, which was a basic forwarding company. And about 4 years ago, I guess, we understood clearly that whether you like it or you don't like it, this business is going digital. We also understood that if we don't do something, we may get left behind in this digital revolution, as it were. So the decision was taken to create Agora Freight as an online rates and calculation system to and from Russia. It would also do cross trades, and that's something we're expanding. But the initial vision was to do business to and from Russia with instantaneous rates online, not the traditional, you have to phone somebody, they send you an email back, they miss something on the rate, you go back to them, and then 3 days later, you may have a rate in place. So that's really why we decided to do it. And it's come to the point really where we have the seed investment, and now we're going for round A, which will allow us to increase the scope of the business and to progress it as we want to progress it. We advertise the system every day on the internet in Russia and via Facebook and other ways of social media. So we have a social media expert who does all that, not me. We target, or the search engine that we use, they have the ability to target companies we want to attract as clients in Russia. And basically, we target small to medium-sized Russian companies, be they exporters or be they importers, doesn't matter. We don't target the big multinationals because that's always via an RFQ, and we don't target the huge Russian companies because we know for many reasons we're not going to get their business. So small to medium-sized Russian companies, exporters or importers. And I would say we get around probably 7,000 requests per month to the site with companies looking for rates. It can be they're thinking of something in the future, they just want an idea of what a rate is, or it can be something they want to do now and want to book the cargo now. So what these companies do, they go into our system and search for a rate. And it's a very simple interface. Technology behind it, of course, is extremely complicated. Well, the interface itself is quite user-friendly, I would say. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So it's user-friendly. And they can go in there and search for a rate. And if they like the rate, they do a simple registration, just email address, blah, 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 nothing special. They then have the ability online to book the cargo. So there's an icon, book. When that happens, we receive a notification in this office that the cargo is booked. The overseas agent, and I'll come on to that a bit later, whose rate the booking is based on, also receives an automatic notification. So we know it's booked. Our agent overseas, where the cargo is going to or from, gets a notification. Then we have to go offline, because there has to be what we call the human touch, where you can't do everything online. So rate online, yes. Booking online, yes. Then the client receives, should he book the cargo, a phone call. And then we take it from there, because you've got to organise the paper, the customs, the pickup dates, the usual things that go with the logistics process. So that, in essence, is how it works and what it does.
And they have a personalised account manager, don't they, from what I saw when I went and had a look?
Exactly so, exactly so. And our response time to a bookings made to somebody phones a company up in Russia is about 15 to 20 minutes. So it has to be a rapid response, because no use having a rapid rate, a rapid book your cargo, then you sit there thinking, well, what's going on, guys? So you have to respond extremely quickly.
Well, I guess that in itself, there's more than one unique selling point there to kind of enhance people to come to you over your competitors.
Yeah, exactly. And just to go back to I'll say this is proprietary software. So this isn't something we just went and bought off the shelf. So this was developed from an idea, from a blank piece of paper. And I know for sure there were 40,000 programming hours put into this project.
Wow.
Initially, we did it with a large Russian, in fact, international software company called Rexsoft, who did the bulk of the programming and algorithms and all the stuff I have absolutely no idea about and don't want to. And since about 1 year, we've taken the IT in-house. So the IT, any developments we have at the moment, that's already done in-house by Agora Freight, sitting in a different part of Russia in general. So that's how that works. Excuse me. If I may just talk a little bit about how the rates appear in the system. So basically what happens is rates from Russia to countries across the world. We put the rates in the system ourselves. So we do that here, be it for export of containers or air freight or whatever you want, trucking into Europe. Then, and this is the whole, not the trick exactly, but this is the really hard part, is that we appoint agents overseas. And that agent's function is to put rates from their countries to Russia in the system. Right. And they can do that via a variety of ways. They can do it via an API connection. It's not so common, but we have API connections with carriers. We have API connections, you know, Charles from X-Freight. So we have an API connection with their company, with some shipping lines, with trucking companies, and that's the way it goes with the API. If an overseas agent doesn't have an external API, and a lot of them really don't, then they have several options as to how to get the rates in the system. We can create what we call a private area in the system, give them passwords and login details, and they can put the rates in themselves and adjust the margins themselves. So when somebody goes to look for a rate, they see a selling rate. Or they can send us the rates by Excel, where we can automatically upload them ourselves, or even a free-form email, and we could upload the data from there. So there are several ways. Some agents do it themselves, some send a spreadsheet. It just depends on the agent. And when we started this, one of my main tasks, and still is to convince companies overseas to contribute their rates. And I must have sent personally well over 1,000 emails to agents all across the world, individual emails, out of which at the moment, I guess about 90 companies actually contribute with rates. Some companies just don't get the idea. Some companies don't respond at all. Some companies like, yeah, we're a bit busy, we'll get back to you next year. We're in the middle of a pandemic, so, it's not our top priority. And others immediately get the idea. So it just depends. It just depends. And the agents that we use are vetted agents. So we don't just choose anybody. Ideally, the agent is a small to medium-sized family company, a bit like our own, who want to become involved to an extent in this, call it digital revolution, you might say. And slowly but surely, over a period of time, agents came on board. Of course, we're always looking for other agents. So if anybody watching this is interested to talk to us about becoming one of our overseas agents, then more than welcome.
Get in touch.
Exactly. So our doors are open to anyone to communicate with us. And one area I would say that we are still grappling to find agents is probably South America, actually. So we have coverage in a lot of countries. South America, for some reason, not really. We have one good potential in Brazil, a possibility in Argentina, but in general, no. So if anybody from South America is watching, then be my guest. Is that we do not charge agents to publicize their rates on our system. So there's no monthly or annual fee involved, not at this stage anyway. That might be down the line, we don't know yet. So the bottom line for the agents is if they contribute rates and a booking is made based on their rate, they move the cargo. It's as simple as that.
Straightforward. I just wanted to go back to your point about the digital revolution. How do you think digitalisation has affected and is affecting the industry?
Oh, that's a good question. I think a lot of traditional forwarders probably still think it's a bit of a fad. It's not really going to happen. A couple of years, it'll all disappear and everybody will just do the standard thing. And that is a huge, big mistake because it is not going away. We all know that the major carriers, digital, airlines, digital. It was talked at the NAP conference in Dubai. Digital, it's not going in that direction. It has gone in that direction. And I have this suspicion that a lot of these forwarders sit here thinking, it won't really affect us. And I think it will, because in these days, people want it like that. It's like, booking your Uber taxi or ordering a pizza or booking a flight. People want this, especially the new generation, they want it instantaneous. They don't want to send you an email and wait 2 days for a rate.
So it's whether though companies can keep up with that, and the companies that can't keep up with that digitalisation are possibly being left behind.
Quite possibly. And we point this out to our overseas agents as well. But guys, you don't have to invest in a system yourself. We have a system and you can use the system. And even we have one direct client in America who we actually have an API connection with. And these guys basically purchase huge printing machines. I mean, one printing machine fills a 20-foot container, and it's produced, of course, in China. And this American company not only imports them to America, they sell them to different countries. And of course, when their sales guys are asked for, what does your machine cost? The sales guy knows what the machine costs, but he doesn't know what it costs to get it from China to where it needs to go to. So with this API connection, they can just put a rate, okay, China, Long Beach, California, rate comes up. And we had exactly that instance just before Christmas, where the company that we started this API connection with, they said, okay, guys, we've got your rate from China, from Shanghai into Long Beach, let's do it. And we move the container. I think it's almost in Long Beach as we speak. And it saves their sales guys a lot of time and energy, because the sales guy, how much does it cost to get my thing from there to there? And he just goes into the system, and in seconds he's got a rate. So he knows what his transport cost is without actually having to send any emails or doing anything.
And Simon, can you give us any insights into any future developments at Agora?
I mean, the main future developments at the moment will be increasing our geographical presence, that's for sure. So geographical presence is everything, because it can be someone goes into our system now, looks for a rate from here to country X or from country X to here, and it's not in the system. If that happens, the system tells them out of our geographical scope, please send us an email, which they may or may not do. So I would say increasing the geographical presence is going to be a major one. A major one.
Do you have like a number of countries that you want to expand to, or?
To be quite honest, we want to be in every country. There isn't a country that we don't want to be present in as a digital forwarder. And that might sound like a bold statement, but it's a statement we're making here and now, that we want every single country covered. And not only just to and from Russia, because we also have the ability. So maybe there's an agent sitting in, I don't know, Buenos Aires, and there's an agent sitting in Bangalore, who knows? And we can connect those two companies and do cross-trade rates. So it's like a spider's web, if I may use that term. So basically, yeah, global domination, that's the name of the game.
Yeah, taking over the world.
Taking over the world. And from where we started to where we are now, which hasn't, we started this process in 2016, I guess. And of course, there were several years of IT work. Then there's the beta testing, then you actually go live with the system. And, you kind of sit there thinking, is anybody actually going to look at this thing? I say to the point now where we get about 7,000 hits per month. Of course, we need to increase that as well. We need to increase our advertising outside Russia. So China for sure will be next on the list. That obviously represents some unique challenges, but China will be on the list, and then we'll expand it to be advertised outside of Russia. All of which cost time, and all of which takes time and costs money. So that's why we're enthusiastic about our round A with the investors, which is ongoing at the moment.
Well, good luck with that on your worldwide takeover. We wish you all the best. Now, before you go, I just wanted to ask, what album would you take with you to a desert island, Simon?
This was the most difficult, I told you on the email, this was the most difficult question I could think of, because I know, of course, Desert Island Discs, and I used to studiously listen to Desert Island Discs, but you can only choose one CD, right? Not a collection of. I'm going to have to go with the 1979 release of Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Oh, brilliant. Nice. Great choice.
That's what, say no more, in good company. That's gonna have to be it. If it was a CD and a book, then I'd probably take this.
And of course your chapter.
I'll probably forgot in another 10 years. I've only forgot what happened in the 90s. So I can use that as a good reference. God, did I really do that? Did business really happen like that over here? Well,
thank you so much for your time today. It was really lovely to see you again, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us on CCL TV.
You're more than welcome, and look forward to talking to you next time and seeing you next time.
Bye.